It's The Journey with drug and alcohol attorney Mark G. Astor.
So you know what I want to know? Because you came on my podcast about a year ago.
Yeah.
I want to know what you've been doing since, because I've seen you on Facebook. I know you've been giving away a ton of Narcan. So tell us a little bit about what's been going on the last year.
Dr. Rivera's helped me. Lizzie has helped me. I'm exhausted, but I didn't even mention this earlier. 28 months, December 31 will be 28 months that I started since International Overdose Awareness Day 2017. I have been to 6 states, including Montana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Southern California, half of Florida's county, 30 counties. We have given, today is class number 157, 2-hour class. I have had 4,150 students attend and receive a spray. 163 people like you have saved another human life. And this is all thanks to about 50,000 of my own money and about 48,000 on GoFundMe. So I'm wrapping it up, but I've been very busy since the year took off. After you saw me right about the time GoFundMe made me their hero. And ever since then, the numbers skyrocketed. I went out of state.
Well, that's incredible. So what's the biggest training you've done? I think you mentioned it, right?
Yeah, I would say, you know what, Florida Southwestern College, Fort Myers, we had 143 students. Ocala, the Marion County Sheriff's Office, because the sheriff was there, we had 90 students. Skid Row, LA, I had 30 or 40 people. So yeah, usually it's a small class like this. It's 10 to 15 people. If you know anybody who would like to host a class, I'll even go into their home. I've done these in a very dangerous housing project in Ocala. I should have asked. They had armed deputies stay with us during the class. I'm like, why do we have 2 deputies? I didn't realize they had murders going on there. I've done them in ballroom dance studios, surfboarding. I'll go anywhere. If somebody can host a class, maybe one of your podcast viewers will be kind enough to invite us to their office like you have, Mark, or their home. I'll go anywhere for a 2-hour class.
So obviously you've been at Ground Zero for when you were...
Fire rescue, 28
Fire
years.
rescue, right? You were Ground Zero. So where do you see this going? Because, I mean, I don't see it slowing down.
Yeah.
I know there are times when my phone doesn't ring quite as much as it potentially would. I know some of the treatment centers tell me there are periods of time where it's quiet. But as a general rule, this doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon. So...
Yeah, I'll ask the addiction professional, Dr. From what I can just tell you what I'm reading and teaching. Overall, there's talk that it's going down. The death rates in 32 states have gone down slightly, but in 18 states they have skyrocketed. And Florida is still in the throes of a very bad crisis.
So what's the answer?
Well, it's Narcan is only part of the solution. The challenge is getting professionals, peer-based support, faith-based support, addiction detox funding beds. The one thing I will say with my Narcan, we'll wrap this up for me because we've got people who got to go. Dead people don't recover. So this is only part of the solution, but it's so multifaceted, from the legal system, what you're doing, to funding for detox and rehab beds, to also the biggest challenge that I invite your podcast viewers is to help me reduce stigma. Post on your social media. Too many people judge human beings battling alcohol, drug use disorder, mental illness, homelessness, and they're human beings dealing with an issue, but society judges them. That's the greatest challenge, stigma.
Yeah, you know, I always sort of liken the whole idea of addiction with a bit like cancer, right? I mean, you don't cure cancer, you go into remission. You don't cure addiction, you go into recovery, right? And it can come back, and it does come back, and it can kill you. So to me, I don't know if we'll ever it's a bit like cancer, we'll never wipe it out completely, but we'll get much, much better at curing it. And I think that we will probably never get rid of, if it's not fentanyl, it'll be something else. And so I don't know if you know Don Maines, I think he was with the Sheriff's Office. I interviewed Don too, and he's probably, I don't know, he probably knows more about street drugs than anybody else I've ever met. But one of the things he talks about is the fact that, these drugs that are coming in from different jurisdictions, they just change them ever so slightly, and now they don't fit within the 4 corners of a statute which designates a certain controlled substance as illegal. So they're going to keep changing the drugs. We'll probably still have these issues. We'll just get better at dealing with it, right? Hopefully at some point we'll make treatment available to everybody, and I've told our amazing state attorney here, Dave Ehrenberg in Palm Beach County, we got to make treatment available to everybody, because otherwise we're going to be burying a lot more people. And as I said to Dave, if you don't get them into treatment, you'll be prosecuting them or burying them. Pick your poison, right? I think obviously the Narcan is huge, right? If we can intercept people at the emergency room, with the peer support. And I know they did a pilot program here. I think Captain Houston Park here in Palm Beach County did a very successful program here. I think it's going to take a village. I don't think it's what I do or you do or what anybody else does. I think it's a lot of things. I think having mums and siblings and spouses going out there and saying, look, I lost somebody.
Yeah.
I don't want to see you deal with what I had to deal with, right? I mean, I buried my own father. I can't imagine what it's like to bury a child. It has to be the worst thing in the world, and I only know a little bit about that because I take those phone calls every once in a while, unfortunately. So
thank you. People like you educating. So the final point is it all comes down to stigma. But since we're talking about Narcan today for 2 hours, Narcan should be viewed no differently than a first aid kit, a fire extinguisher, a smoke detector, an EpiPen. All it is a life-saving tool. If we can just ignore briefly what it's intended for, it's a life-saving tool. So thank you so much for hosting us here, Mark. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody, to another one. This is going to be an exciting show. Another edition of The Journey. And, man, I am so excited to have you on the show. So I have Luis Garcia on the show. And the reason, the way that Luis came to be on the show was I read about you, actually, I think in the Palm Beach Post.
Okay, yes.
And what caught my attention was, so I don't know if you know this, but I was a prosecutor many years ago.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
So, when I used to do some of the more serious prosecutions,
yeah,
we always had to, we was dealing with, the paramedics and...
Sure. Firefighters.
Yeah, all those folks. So when I saw this title, retired firefighter buys $40,000 a Narcan
right.
or naloxone, I said, who is this guy? So I started to read about it, and the story that I read, and if I'm wrong on any of the details, you can correct me, but the story I read was that you were retired, you had all this money saved to go buy, I think it was like your dream car?
A luxury SUV. My girlfriend and I were looking at luxury SUVs about a year and a half ago.
Right, and so instead of buying the car, you took the money and you went out and bought $40,000 worth of naloxone, which is basically the antidote
Correct.
For someone who has had an overdose.
Exactly right.
And so I think from what you told me before, when I first made contact with you, you sort of started off this was sort of like a solo effort, and now you have this organization, and I know you have a guest with us, and we have some of your team members who are on Zoom with us, and now you have this amazing operation, for lack of a better word, where you are going out and Narcanning people, or saving people and giving it away. So thank you for coming in and sharing your story. It's really quite amazing.
I really appreciate your enthusiasm. It's refreshing. Occasionally, I don't encounter that enthusiasm. I get a lot of resistance and stigma from the general public, so it's nice to be with people who get it.
Look, I was a very miserable lawyer for many, many years. I will tell you, I tried for many years not to practice because I couldn't stand being a lawyer.
Right.
When I was prosecutor and I was making a pittance, it was a job I loved doing. Why? Because I got that feeling. I was always helping people, especially when you prosecute more serious crimes and maybe you have a decedent. You get a little closure, get a little justice for a family. I mean, that's a feeling you can't buy that feeling. It's an amazing feeling, and I lost it when I left. And then about 4 years ago, when I started to actually listen to the universe, I sort of closed my mouth and actually started to listen. I realized that I had been surrounded most of my life by people who are dealing with issues of addiction and mental illness, and that was what I was supposed to be doing with my law practice. So that's sort of how this all sort of came about.
That's a beautiful segue. You found your soul vocation.
Yeah, so I love being a lawyer now. I do. Yeah. We work crazy hours because you can't do this kind of work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday and help anybody. I mean, so we love it. I mean,
we're definitely lucky to have you in the Southeast Florida community. A lot of demand for what you do. And speaking of the universe, you so eloquently mentioned the universe. When I started this, I was a one-man show a year and a half ago. My only helper for a year was the lovely lady, Sarah Cooper, who should be here in a few minutes. She's an OR nurse from Miami who lost her son to the disease of substance use disorder a year and a half ago. And I've got now about 20 angels, mostly women, a couple men who volunteer to help me. About 10 of them are professionals, and about 10 are concerned citizens or folks who are battling the disease. Why don't I let her introduce herself?
I was going to say, I want you, because we have a guest.
She drove all the way from Fort Myers.
And we have people who are on Zoom, so let's... Marco Island, even further. Wow. So maybe we could sort of introduce, tell us who we have so that the folks watch the show, they know who they're listening to.
Why don't I'll let you introduce yourself first and tell us about yourself and your mission over there and how you're helping me.
Okay, my name is Denise Holmes. I've started this nonprofit organization called Families of Grace. I started this with my daughter, who is now suffering from substance use disorder. I just retired in June myself.
From what? What were you doing?
I was a computer analyst for a healthcare system.
Okay.
And my background is also, I was a laboratory technician. So I know a lot about drug screening and all that. So I started this with my daughter to help my daughter in her recovery. And she came up with the design of our T-shirts and what our Families of Grace stand for. And it's to go out to the homeless in Southwest Florida with a backpack. And in each backpack, we have a T-shirt that was designed by my daughter. It's beautiful. Our email address is on it, liftthefog12@gmail.com. We put in blankets, we put in toiletries, and I feel the most important thing we put in that bag is Narcan sprays to save our children. So I do this every month on the 12th day at 12 noon in Southwest Florida.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, she go to the homeless shelter and give out the backpacks.
Right.
And we're trying to support her and help her as much as we can, giving her free Narcan.
Well, yeah, I know, I noticed, I've been reading about there's been sort of there was a time, I think, even, especially with law enforcement, where there was sort of a stigma attached to the whole idea of Narcan, and now they're carrying it because, when there's an overdose, they're getting called, paramedics are getting called, everybody's getting called, someone's got to administer the Narcan, and who's ever first on scene better know how to use it and do it, because otherwise, we could lose somebody.
Narcan is a game changer. It doesn't matter who administers it. We have to get out of the mindset that we need to wait for the police department or the fire rescue guys. Every citizen should view this as an automatic defibrillator.
Maybe we can explain exactly what it is. I mean, you and I, we know what it is, but for the folks who
do you want to introduce anybody who's on the computer?
Yeah, actually, let's do that,
Yeah,
and then we'll get back to the whole Narcan.
Yeah,
Sorry, folks, who were on the computer. My apologies. I get, as a lawyer, sometimes my mouth is.
I love your energy.
Well, my brain is like 2 or 3 steps ahead of my mouth. It's very difficult, so I can't keep up. That's my problem. No wonder I don't sleep. So yeah, let's introduce the folks that are here on the computer, and then we'll go back, because I know you have different people doing different things. And
why don't you introduce yourselves, ladies? A couple of you called in, I believe, Heather and Alicia.
Yes, my name's Alicia, and I'm from East Tennessee, and I am an addict in recovery. I've been clean since 2013. I got several felonies before I did get clean. Then I got into a program for Judicial Recovery Court, and since then I have remained clean. I've had 2 operations where I've handed out Narcan to the county that I received the felonies in, to the officers to give back there. I'm also a CPRS, which is certified by the state to advocate for addicts. And I'm currently in school right now for my alcohol and drug counseling.
Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Are you in Tennessee right now?
Yes, I am.
All right, I would never guess by the accent. Nobody ever accused me of being from Tennessee, I'll tell you that.
That's my next guest, Mark.
They say other things to me, but not you're from Tennessee. So who else do we have with us?
Hello, I'm Heather. I'm in Kentucky.
All right. And Casey's Law land.
I'm sorry?
The land of Casey's Law.
Oh, yes. And I am a hairdresser. I was also an addict. I found recovery when my brother passed away from a heroin overdose. I was on prescription medication for years, so many years, for a slip disc in my back. And they just kept the prescriptions just kept coming and coming. And I didn't think I was an addict because I was getting them from my doctor. And, when my brother passed away, I really saw the light, and I'm taking charge. I carry my Narcan everywhere with me. Got it right here. And I'm ready to make a voice and be loud about this. We need to help. 72,000 people died last year.
Yep. Equivalent of an NFL-sized football stadium, full to capacity. That's
I
how many
just
people
read
lose
on
it.
the news.
Yeah, that's how many people we lose every
More
year.
people than died in the entire Vietnam War.
Yep, and actually now they say, from what I was reading, that statistically more people are dying from overdoses than are dying in car accidents.
Just came out a week ago.
Yes, I was just
Unbelievable.
about to say that.
I got more chance of dying from an overdose than I do from a car accident. That's really quite incredible.
Mind-boggling.
It's frightening. So how did everybody sort of get together? How did everybody meet?
Okay, so real quick, in a nutshell, I started on my own, and I never envisioned this taking off the way it did. I just bought 800. I thought I'd give them out. When I was done, I was done. And then somebody suggested GoFundMe, and I puttered along for about a year on GoFundMe. And then in November, they made me their hero, November, December. My GoFundMe, the same as my Facebook page, USA Opioid Crisis Mortality Reduction with Narcan. And I started encountering people, some of these ladies I met before that on Facebook. To answer your question, it's people I've never met on Facebook, but I will be meeting in 4 weeks. I'm traveling through Kentucky, Tennessee, and Arkansas with these ladies. We're doing about 30 events in areas that are rural primarily that don't have access to Narcan. We're doing several classes at health departments, police departments, universities, homeless shelters, a restaurant, anywhere that needs Narcan and doesn't have Narcan. So I met these people primarily through Facebook. Other people I've met at events, like Sarah will be here shortly. She helped me in Miami, and she's been the only person who's been with me for over a year. And I just meet people, and when they're nice enough to say, do you need help? I'm like, you're staying with me. I need all the help I can get. And now we've got about 20 helpers. Some of them are online watching the Facebook Live video. We have Mike Duncan is a harm reduction advocate who was in New York City for over 10, 12 years. Amazing resource. He comes down here and helps me. I've got Dr. Gus Castellanos, who was in the news many years ago. He's actually a cardiologist who is no secret. He was in recovery. He went to federal prison for some issues related to his addiction, and he's changed his life, and he helps in out that Narcan. 2 nurses. I've got a psychologist, several therapists, and about 9 or 10 of them are like these ladies who are in recovery or lost a loved one to the disease of substance use disorder. But yeah, Facebook is amazing. The internet is mind-boggling to me. I'm still shocked at how much I've connected.
It's I mean, it's been great. I mean, I get some of the I get some of these people reaching out through Facebook. It's been great. I mean, it's an amazing tool when it's used the right way.
Right.
So
I had a French TV crew come down about a month ago. Brute Meetup, BRUT.
You sent me the article. I'm like, how does somebody in France or Paris?
They called me. I didn't believe them. They had an accent and said, let me have your number. She goes, well, call through our New York number. And heavy accent. And we talked. I'm like, you're for real? She goes, yes, we'd like to fly a crew down. And they did. And they did a really nice 4 or 5 minute video on me.
That is great.
Wow.
Through the internet. And I said, how did you find me? They said, we don't know. Just like we're going to a police department in Gurdon, Arkansas, tiny little police department. I get an email on a Friday night. I didn't believe it. He says, we're pretty desperate. We have a bad problem. I Googled them. And Gurdon, Arkansas, this tiny little 10-man police department had a death 6 months ago. They busted 13 drug dealers in the town with their help of the state and county police. And they're overwhelmed. And they can't afford to buy Narcan. So we're going to be doing them as a part of our training and opening up to the community. The internet's amazing.
Don't you think that I know that we're in the middle of this sort of government shutdown, and I don't want to get more political, but in a country as wealthy as ours, I mean, the fact that you're actually having to give away Narcan because the police or the medical personnel, first responders don't have access to it.
Mark, you bring up a really good point. It is. I'm still blown away. We're going to a couple of health departments. We are doing volunteer fire departments. The Narcan is out there. There is funding thanks to SAMHSA, so the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, thanks to state and county health departments, President Trump's administration. There's money out there, but the interesting part is it doesn't always go to the areas that have the greatest need. Sometimes it ends up in large metro areas. Louisville, Kentucky, we were checking that out. They've got like several different distribution programs. They're saturated, but we're traveling an hour away from Louisville to do 3 smaller communities that don't have much Narcan.
I love it.
Wow.
So let's just talk about the whole Narcan thing, because you know, we sort of, to us it's almost a word that we we just say it, right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe let's talk about what it is. I mean, you have all this medical training. Maybe explain to our viewers exactly what it is and what it does and how it's used.
Let me bring up a couple things here. Okay. Narcan is the term used mostly by most police, fire, ER staff. We call it Narcan. The medical name is naloxone hydrochloride, and it has been around 64 years. It's not anything new. We've only heard about it in the last few years in the format it's come out. The Narcan that is primarily used in ER settings and by fire rescue anywhere in the country, any ambulance squad, comes in a 2 milligram, 2 cc ampule. That's how we gave it during my 28 years in fire rescue.
When you say ampule, what does that mean?
Okay, I'll open one up.
Because the reason I asked that is because I know we were playing with the trainer that I had in my office, and that requires if it has the needle in it, it's like an injection to the leg.
And I'll briefly show you that one. But this is what you're going to get anywhere in this country if you call 911. Your local fire rescue paramedics, the volunteer fire department, the ambulance squad. If you go to an ER, this is what most of them use. It's made by International Medication System. That's a primary manufacturer of naloxone hydrochloride. You pop them off just like in the TV. You pop off these tops here, and then you connect it, and then you screw it together, and if you're in a medical setting, they'll have a needle here, and they can give it to you intramuscular, IV, bone injection gun. They can remove the needle and give it to you endotracheally down your airway. So this is how most medical people and many what's called harm reduction programs teach the public to do. They add a little adapter and they stick it in the nose. So this is one way to deliver 2 milligrams of Narcan. That's been around 63 years. In 2014, Kaleo Pharma came out with the Avisio auto injector, this device here. This is a yellow 0.4 auto injector. They targeted the police environment and layperson. At that time, in 2014, if you had great health insurance, you could get the auto injector. And if you'll pass me that trainer, let me show you real quick.
Show everybody how that works.
Yeah.
Because I got this.
Thank you. You gifted me that. I'm
I
so
wanted
grateful.
to have this because it might save somebody. But
oh my God, you will.
That was given to me. I went to I got invited to go to the Delray Beach Drug Task Force.
Nice.
And they had the rep from the company that makes that.
Very cool.
And she said, it does everything the real thing does, except it doesn't have the needle. But
yes,
it's really cool because it kind of tells you how to do it.
Yeah, it really is a cool training device, and I'm grateful that you've gifted that because I have to buy them. Everything I get, I buy. So, again, the trainer, just picture that. It looks exactly like the real thing. This is the real one. I won't move it, so we'll pretend. So we pull off the top. And first of all, we have to deal with what we believe is suspected overdose. We are focusing on preventing death. The name of my Facebook and GoFundMe is called USA Opioid Crisis Mortality Reduction with Narcan. There are different levels of an overdose. It can actually occur over an hour to 2 hours. I'm talking about the moment where the person stops breathing, they lose their pulse. They are going to die in 5 or 6 minutes if you don't give them something.
So I want to know, paramedics get called to the scene, police get called to the scene. How do they make a determination that the person's suffering from an overdose as opposed to having a heart attack or a stroke?
Well, it's become really easier in most of the country, especially in Florida, but many parts of the country. If that victim's under 50 or 60, you're more than 60% chance it's an opioid-related overdose. But they'll look for the signs or symptoms. Do they have a history? Do we see a needle? Do we see drug paraphernalia? Does the family tell you they are taking prescription medicines? They will generally be blue, gray, or purple. They may have no breathing. Their chest will not be going up and down. There's no pulse that can be felt. The person is completely unresponsive, even to deep sternal rub. We're rubbing their chest. So they're critically unresponsive. And if they're under 50, it's probably an opioid overdose.
So I want to know, you were a firefighter for how long?
Yes, 28 years.
And how many...
Firefighter, paramedic.
Firefighter, paramedic, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So how many... I guess drug overdose scenes do you think you got called to over those years?
I actually sat down and estimated one day. I'm pretty sure I went to over 3,000 overdoses and treated 3,000 patients.
That's shocking.
That's not unusual for somebody, especially now. I would say a younger fire rescue paramedic, he or she is probably working more than that if they put in 28 years.
I mean, that's unbelievable. Yeah. Shocking.
Yep.
So anyway, let's talk about the trainer.
Okay, so cool this is the trainer. So that was the this is what's important to the layperson. We're going to focus on two main things. If you're a layperson, a citizen, you're probably going to have an auto injector, an Evzio auto injector made by Kaleo Pharma, or the nasal spray made by ADAP Pharma now, which is Emergent Biosolutions. They just got bought out, the nasal spray. We'll come to that next. But this one's the one that's been around almost 5 years. And most police departments in the country carry it. Most people who are homeless that you help in Southwest Florida with Families of Grace, your homeless and coalition over there giving out backpacks, you help folks, and they may very well have this because people 4 or 5 years ago who had health insurance all came down to South Florida or California, a couple places for treatment. And back then, the carriers paid for these, okay? So the way it works is very simple. You remove the top and just listen to it.
This trainer
so again,
no
we'll have that just for visual effect.
If you are ready to use, pull off red safety guard.
Okay, so when we're ready, we pull it off.
To inject, place black end against outer thigh.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Press firmly and hold in place for 5 seconds.
So you just push it down like an EpiPen. Anywhere on the thigh, doesn't have to be exact.
Inject, place black end against outer thigh. Then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Injection complete.
I never get old listening to that. I think it's very cool.
It's very exciting because you know you're probably about to save somebody's life.
It's practically idiot-proof. It tells you how to do it.
It is. And that's what most police departments and volunteer fire departments and many folks battling the disease who had health insurance had until 2.5 years ago. 2.5 years ago, ADAP Pharma, which is now Emergent Biosolutions, came out with the Narcan nasal spray. The interesting thing there, and I won't belabor the point, is that when this is how I really became involved. People are like, how did you become involved? What's your personal attachment? I have no personal attachment. But when I saw this 2.5 years ago, and I noticed the dosaging, 4.0 milligrams, 4 milligrams, that is high dosage Narcan. Mark, you tell me, how much is in the auto-injector that have been given out for years?
Gonna put my glass on for
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Hold on a
put your
second.
glasses on.
0.4.
0.4.
So that is
10
times more
powerful. And what is fire rescue going to give them if you're like, this is all they give you, 1 ampule at a time? Can you see how many milligrams there?
It's got 1.
2. Yeah,
Is
it's
that
2
1?
milligrams. 2 milligrams, 1 per cc on the
Okay,
right.
so there's 2 of them in there.
milligrams.
There's 2 of
2
them in there.
milligrams, yeah.
Okay.
So this is
So
equivalent.
it's a double dose in there. Got it. Okay.
This will work 91% of the time, according to the ADAP Pharma FDA report in December, their first 2-year report. 91% of the time effective. 1 single spray in anybody, even if they've had fentanyl, carfentanil, acrofentanil, if we reach them within 8 minutes of cardiac or
So you're
respiratory
basically
arrest.
putting it up the nose and just giving
Yep.
a good squeeze.
Very easy to use. Let me get my trainer here, and I'll show you right here.
So,
Here's
all right, so let's talk about, so you
Yeah.
know what's interesting? I've seen you,
Yeah.
I think I've seen the video of you doing this. What,
Yeah.
I think it was in the post
Brute.
on
On
Sunset.
Brute, maybe. Well, it's all over. I do it
It's
on almost
everywhere.
every
So
video.
let's talk about
Yeah.
what this is.
Okay, so this is a cheapo CPR mannequin. When I started, I had nothing. I had 2 mannequins, and I started getting stuff. This is a mannequin that you can use, but not like the big expensive ones you'll get at the college. It works. I blow it up, and this does the trick. You can pump on it. You can ventilate. We can practice Narcan. So here's our person. And again, the important thing is that we recognize the signs and symptoms of an overdose. The person will be unresponsive. They'll get sleepy, drowsy. They'll be confused. They may get sweaty. Most importantly, they'll start to pass out. They'll nod off. They won't respond to you calling their name. They won't respond when you do a deep sternal rub, which is rubbing on their chest very hard. Okay? And then they may turn blue, gray, or purple. That is the moment that they're on the brink of death. Whatever anybody does immediately will determine whether or not this person lives or dies. We cannot wait 4 or 5 minutes for the police to get there. We should not wait 7 or 8 minutes for fire rescue paramedics to get there. Anybody and everybody should have Narcan available to save a life. So you just take it, you open your packaging. It comes in this little packaging. It does not have to stay in there. We can open it up. I carry these in my pocket. I also carry them in my glove compartment, and it's not sterile. There's no needle. You simply take it out. It has a little aperture. You stick it in the person's nose all the way down. No thinking, no effort.
Just jam it in.
Jam it in, and then push down. 2 seconds, you're done. You'll hear it click, and it'll be done. And you've just administered a very high dosage of Narcan, 4.0 milligrams.
How long does it normally take for you to know whether or not it's actually had a reaction?
Okay. Interestingly enough, when I worked in fire rescue, 3,000 times I gave IM stuff, bone injection gun, endotracheally, worked very quickly. I've administered this 12 times in the last 2.5 years since it became over-the-counter legal.
You don't need somebody to be breathing to, because it's almost like,
No.
you know when you get like a blocked nose, you take
Right.
and you gotta
Right. Right. People think that you do not.
Right.
It is helpful if immediately afterwards you start compression and ventilate if you are trained and equipped and can safely do so. Breathing is extremely important in the overdose patient. But even if you didn't do any of that, if you spray it and then you start pumping, you call 911 or send somebody to call 911 after you give them the nasal spray, it will work. They don't need to be breathing. It will work.
So if somebody on the street administers this, right?
Yes.
They don't have any medical training, and they call 911 and say, "I just gave somebody some Narcan."
Narcan.
Most of the 911 operators now, they can say, "Okay, listen, now you've done it. You need to do this. You need to do chest
Yes.
compressions or whatever."
They will walk you through it, but again, hopefully everybody knows how to compress, and it's really, really, really important. If you know the person or have a pocket mask or are trained and equipped, we want you to breathe. We can't stress the importance of breathing in a respiratory arrest overdose. But to answer your original question, 1 to 2 minutes, you'll see him come back to life. All you got to do is go on YouTube or on my Facebook page, and you'll see police body cam. You'll see folks spraying them. Literally, they're pumping on their chest. They're using an AED, and then the person wakes up like something out of Pulp Fiction.
So I've always been told that this is basically the antidote for someone who has had an overdose.
Correct.
A couple of weeks ago we had I had Don Mains in here. I don't know if you know Don. He's I think he's like a special assistant, special liaison to the Broward Sheriff.
Oh, great.
I've heard Don speak a number of times. He's a really great guy, but
Wow.
he probably knows more about the street drugs that are coming in
Okay.
than anybody I've ever.
Sure.
And every time I hear him speak,
Sure.
not only is he just really great to listen to,
Yeah.
but there's a new drug, and so one of the things he talked about was the fact that most of the drugs now, a lot of the drugs are laced with fentanyl, and that's
Yes.
what's so deadly. And sometimes one dose of the Narcan doesn't always work. So, I mean, they're talking about multiple doses, and I'm wondering if there's any kind of opioid or substance that this will not
No,
work
absolutely
with.
not. You may need additional Narcan, but in general, Narcan, aka naloxone hydrochloride, whether using the IV, IM, endotracheal medical route, whether you're using the lower dose auto injector, whether you're using the high dose nasal spray, will usually work if you get to them within 7 or 8 minutes after their breathing and or heartbeat have stopped. Occasionally, you need extra dosaging, but the important point to remember is fire rescue often gives 2 of these, but they're giving 2 plus 2. So they're giving 4. We're giving 4 milligrams right off the bat. And this is why this is the game changer. This is FDA approved for untrained citizen use.
Right.
Wow. Okay. So what are sort of your everyday, police or paramedic firefighters? What are they carrying? Are they carrying what you're giving out now? Or
Most police. Well, first of all, for example, we're in Palm Beach County. The only police departments that carry Narcan, interestingly enough, are the city of Boynton and the city of Delray. That's it in Palm Beach County.
So what do you do if you're in somewhere other part of the county?
You hope and pray. The medics get there very quickly in most fire departments, but hopefully a citizen will be there with Narcan. And we're hearing that a lot. I listen to scanner radios for my job. That's why I have this here. I work for 911 Restoration, and that's how I got into spraying strangers, how I started on this whole mission. We're going to smoke, water, fire damage scenes with a fire rescue scanner. In Florida, it's illegal to police. This is not a police scanner. It's a fire scanner. I hear 911 medical and fire calls only. So I hear the overdose. And a lot more now. I'm hearing a lot more where they're saying citizens have Narcan, administered Narcan. Somebody gave Narcan. I'm hearing a lot more, which is a good sign.
Okay, so let me back up a second.
Narcan's getting out there.
Let me back up a second because you sort of brought up an interesting topic.
Yeah.
So I know that you're wearing a T-shirt. This is 911 Restoration.
Yes.
So what's that?
Okay, that's my employer. I retired from the City of Boynton Beach Fire Department almost 7 years ago. I've been working in the smoke, water, fire damage restoration field. They have been amazing. They've supported my mission. They've given me time off. They help me out financially. They're doing their best to help me with what I'm doing. But if you have smoke, water, fire damage, mold, et cetera, you'll get somebody knocking on your door here in any big city saying, hey, we'd like to help you with your repairs through the insurance carrier. We work through the insurance carrier. We're an authorized vendor. We're the 10th largest company. So we are showing up soliciting home and business owners for business. But in the meantime, we're hearing all these medical calls. We're hearing everything on a scanner radio.
So, I saw some video of you in your car.
Yeah.
It looked like you were responding to a call. So,
Right.
So when you're not fundraising or on my podcast or doing your 911 registration, like, so when do you have time to
I'm exhausted.
When do you have time to monitor this stuff?
You know what? I'm starting. My girlfriend's pointing out that I really need to slow
That
down.
you're an absentee boyfriend is what she's pointing out.
Yeah, you're right, and I'm working on that. But 5 main things that I do with my USA opioid crisis mortality reduction with Narcan. The main thing is doing these 2-hour classes and giving out Narcan to the public. I've done 70 2-hour classes in 18 months. I've donated 1,400 sprays. 104 people have taken my class, saved a life. That's one thing. The second most important thing is personally showing up, as you saw in the video, that brute film crew was with me and we had a call. It wasn't an overdose, but I heard it. I said, let's go. We went. I have equipment. I have an automatic defibrillator. I have a first responder.
Yeah, you got a ton of stuff here, by the way.
I do, and this is all anything a citizen. You don't have to be a licensed paramedic to carry. Citizen stuff, defibrillator, an AED.
So that's when
automatic defibrillator.
The paddles?
No, the pads. The citizen use pads. You pull them out.
You hit
they
the
talk
button.
You through it. Yep. Boom, and they walk you
saw
through
that in a James Bond movie once.
Exactly.
He had it in the car.
Bart, you're too much. And then this is a basic life support first aid kit, citizen level stuff, all first aid stuff. So I've got that. I've got my AD and most importantly Narcan. So I go to emergency if I'm in the area and I can safely, not speeding because I'm no longer a fire rescue paramedic, as a citizen, show up. I've sprayed 12 people in almost 2 years now in South Florida, and 11 of the 12 have lived. Strangers who were dead in the parking lot of McDonald's, Walmart, CVS, you name it, bathrooms, and they've all lived. 11 of the 12 have lived.
So I want to know something. You show up to the scene,
right?
Presumably law enforcement and
I usually arrive right with or right behind law enforcement.
How'd they respond to you? I mean, they're like, who is this guy?
Sometimes they look at me and say, hey, I'm a citizen. I have Narcan. Do you have Narcan? They'll know, great. Most of the time, they're appreciative.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And I would imagine they're starting to recognize you. Like, oh, yeah,
they are.
They know that you have medical training, so they're probably more than happy to let you do it.
They do. And I've never had a problem. Law enforcement's been great. And again, police, almost always, they arrive before fire rescue. People don't realize that. There's more police cars. They're on the road patrolling where the fire rescue paramedics have to come from a fire station. There may be only 3 or 4 fire stations in the city, and there may be 20 police cars on the road.
Yeah, it's interesting we talk about the police. couple of years ago, they had the Sud Talks right here in Delray at the theater, downtown Delray.
Yeah.
And they had the Delray Beach, the chief of police, and he talked for a little bit. And one of the things he was talking about was the fact that, we're sort of turning police officers into medical personnel, and it's causing a lot of stress, right? Because now you're getting young police officers who really, they didn't sign up to do medical work.
Nor were they fully trained for it.
They signed up to do police work, right? And now they're getting called to the scenes where people are overdosing and dying, and it's causing tremendous stress amongst their officers, and some are like, listen, we didn't sign up for this.
Right.
So, I mean, it's almost like all hands on deck, right? I mean,
this crisis has created a new phenomenon. What I say is it takes a village to save lives in the opioid pandemic. We all have to work together, whether or not you're trained, whether or not you're a fire rescue paramedic. I want to bring in Alicia's on. Interestingly enough, she's done a lot on her own. That's how we connected. I heard about her in Tennessee. She set up training on her own. She's a female version of me without getting the Narcan. She talked to the manufacturers, and she was an angel. She got them to donate, and she gave it to the police.
You ladies can chime in here. This is
Alicia. You gotta tell us, Alicia.
Otherwise, I'm gonna monopolize. I'm gonna monopolize the time of Luis. So listen, if you have something to say, you're here with us. We value your opinion. We want to hear what you have to say. So interrupt us, because I'll just keep yapping
Alicia,
away.
tell us about what you did in Tennessee.
I donated 250 FZO to the county that I received most of my felonies from. And then I also had another convention where I donated 50 to a small county that is not able to afford them.
Wow. So are the fundraising efforts, is it all together now? I mean, how initially you said you were doing this. So how were you raising money for this stuff?
I got the companies to donate. I had 250 FZOs donated, and they knew what I was going to do with them and everything. So they approved and donated them to me.
Wow.
And the other 50 nasal came from the state of Tennessee.
So I want to know something, as a former prosecutor and defense lawyer, do any of the people that, you may be connected with in the criminal justice system, do they know what you're doing, that you're out there saving lives?
Oh, yeah.
They do? That's great. That's really great.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I mean, good for you.
Thank you.
Good for you. So, Luis, you got some team with you. So, I want to back up a little bit, because whenever I go to see somebody who's in our profession talk about this epidemic, one of the questions that nearly always gets asked is, where did it come from, and where are we going? So maybe we can talk about. I mean, like, this didn't suddenly magically appear, and I know we had the pill mill thing here, but this didn't just come out of nowhere.
I do a 2-hour class. Let me finish what I was telling you earlier. So I do my giveaways. I spray people. I also show up with my scanner radio. If I can't make it to an address, but I hear of an overdose. Oh, there's Sarah at the door.
Sarah, come on in.
Come on in, Sarah. Sarah, watch your step. Come on in, sweetie.
Come on in.
Watch your step here.
Welcome.
Right. Have a seat, Sarah. Sarah drove all the way from Miami. So anyway, 5 things I do.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. So I give away the Narcan as part of a 2-hour class. I spray people. I also mail Narcan anywhere in the country if they reach out on Facebook or social media and they don't have it locally after they tried to get it.
No problem mailing it across state lines?
No, it's totally legal everywhere.
Great.
I also go to businesses, and I've had a little success with small businesses giving them Narcan. Convenience stores that have overdoses in parking lots and et cetera. So I do, and then I also go out and do like she does, homeless outreach. I visit homeless and drug using camp. But backtracking, and then I'm going to let Sarah talk because she's a wealth of information. But you brought up a really good point. We've heard about how it was pill mills, how it was things about people wanting to put themselves out of pain, abusing stuff. But really, it's a uniquely American problem. People don't realize other countries have battled the disease of substance use disorder. If you Google Portugal and Switzerland, who else were that? There are 3 big countries in the last 10 years that were starting to have a problem like us. They handled it totally differently. To answer your question in a nutshell, it's not as simple as the pill mills. I think part of the problem has been we too much in the U.S. have viewed it as a criminal problem and not a disease. The countries that decriminalized it, that treated it more like a medical problem, Switzerland, Portugal, eradicated their opioid problem in a few years.
Look, if you go to the Florida statutes, our criminal statutes, and you look up
Mark's an attorney, what used to be a prosecutor.
Yes. If you go to the Florida criminal statutes and you look up legislative intent, it says there in black and white, the intent of the legislator in Florida is to punish first and rehabilitate second. They make no bones about it. It's in black and white, and that's their position. I mean, when I first when I was a young prosecutor, I was like, oh, everybody's bad. They all must be guilty. Throw them all in jail. But it didn't
And I thought that too in
It
Fire
didn't take me
Rescue.
long to figure
Yeah.
out that, especially when I started seeing the same people coming back, over. I'm like, something's not right here, because we just sent that guy to jail for 6 months, and now he's back, or she's back, and I started to realize it's okay. I said, what's going on here is we have a core group of people who are revolving through our criminal justice system because they have addiction to mental illness that's not getting treated. They have no access to resources, and eventually end up going to prison or they're dead. Yeah. I'm like, there's something wrong here. I mean, this just from if you just crunch the numbers, that's got to be a horrendous waste of money to send people in and out of the criminal system. Plus the fact, I mean, we're losing potentially a productive member of our society.
Yeah.
What a waste.
You bring up a really good point. Heather, I'd like Heather to jump in, then we'll let you jump in. Heather's on the Zoom, and she lost somebody close to her, and she can tell you about her viewpoints on the disease versus the criminal justice system. Heather?
Yes, Reed, my brother, he stayed in jail all the time. And when he was out, he was high. He went for a year without going to jail and being sober. I'm sorry, guys. I have dogs.
No, it's okay. We love dogs. We're dog lovers. It's good.
They're rotten. He spent a lot of time in and out of the court system as well. We dealt with his addiction, his disease for many years. It started off as alcoholism, ended up with pills, and then I had my own addiction going on the side, which I didn't think was an addiction because my doctor was prescribing me this meds. My brother was stealing them and buying drugs off the street, and it just was a never-ending story.
Yeah,
and there's not a lot of help.
I had a client that actually ended up going to prison, and it was based on the fact that he had a long-term addiction issue combined with some mental illness things where he was self-medicating. And one of the things that he said to me was, and shared it with the court, was that he would have better access to drugs in prison than he would on the street, which was terrible because we had him in treatment for 9 months, and he went from basically being a wreck to this model citizen, and yet the judge threw him in prison anyway. And I was like, wow. Forget the money the parents spent. I mean, we had a kid who we actually saved, and now we're sending him back to prison.
Mark, I think the most important point there, thank you, Heather, is the fact that we in the U.S. have got to start viewing the disease of substance use disorder no differently than diabetes, epilepsy, heart disease. It is no different. It is a disease. And if we can get past the stigma and the judgmentality, we will be able to save more lives. And to answer your original question, how do we get out of here? I think it's going to take a major shift in public perception. And I'd like to have Sarah talk. She's a healthcare professional. She's an OR nurse, and she personally battled the disease of addiction. Sarah, tell us your story.
Nice to meet you, by the way. Thanks. I heard you came all the way from Miami.
I did. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming in, and I'm so excited to have just about this cool group of Luis's team. So thank you for joining us.
Well, I don't recall how we actually got connected, but he started his program, and I lost my 19-year-old son to a drug overdose November 1st, 2016, 1 week after he turned 19. He started on drugs after he got his tonsils out. He was prescribed a gigantic bottle of Percocets, liquid Vicodin. I'm a nurse. My husband is a physician. We monitored everything, making sure he didn't...
What kind of medicine does he practice?
He does spine surgery.
Oh, wow, okay.
So we monitored everything, but I didn't realize that he had a problem then. It continued. It's a quiet disease. It's a private disease. It's not something that people share. They don't, if you're smoking pot, it's a very social thing that you do. Drinking is social, but this is even the addicts themselves are stigmatized. They're ashamed. They feel terrible about themselves. They're embarrassed. So we didn't realize that he had a problem until he was using heroin and injecting, and we didn't know probably about a year into that. He got arrested, and he had a special prosecutor. He was on house arrest for drug-induced homicide. A friend of his overdosed and died, and my son had provided him the drugs. and they forced him to, well, we thought it was a good idea for him to get the Vivitrol injection, which he got, and he was at home on house arrest and had somebody come and deliver some drugs to him. It didn't even show up in his autopsy report because I think it was an analog.
How did he respond to the Vivitrol?
Well, you know, he was fine. I mean, he got the injection. He overdosed on, I don't remember, maybe it was a Monday, and he was due to get the next injection on Wednesday. But we just, we didn't know. And I spent a lot of time being very angry at him and thinking that it was a moral issue, that he had a choice because we brought him up properly. We were good citizens.
Sounds like he came from a wonderful family.
He went to the best private school. We had the best, every weekend we had a place down in Ocean Reef. We went there every weekend. We went on ski vacations. He had the best group of friends. So I spent a lot of time being very angry at him for using drugs, and I didn't understand that he had a problem. I thought that it was a choice. Like, what's wrong with you? Can't you just stop? I mean, you can stop smoking cigarettes, or you can stop drinking. I thought, I didn't realize that he suffered from a disease, and I wasn't educated on it.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that story.
So we actually did use the injectable on him because I did take him to see a doctor, and they prescribed that for me. My husband and I found him in his bedroom. He had probably only been in there maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And my husband went to get him something to eat for lunch, and we found him, and we did CPR, injected the naloxone in his legs, and we had him on life support for a week.
Well, so I didn't share this with you before. So my brother's a doctor.
Oh.
He's an internist down at, I think is it Memorial down in Miami? Or
There's
Baptist?
Hollywood Memorial.
No, I think he's a Baptist. He's a Baptist in
Okay.
Miami.
His health, yeah.
So
Yes.
he did his residency at Mount Sinai. So I guess when they have him going to different departments. Yeah. So my father was very sick until 2 years ago, until he passed away. But during that time, when we spent countless times in the ER and ICU, my brother developed a real passion for critical care. So he wanted to be in a hospital setting. He didn't want to be in private practice. He felt like he could help more people there. He didn't care about making the dollars. Medicine's a passion for him. But he said to us during his residency, he said the hardest thing he had to do in his residency was when they had him in the ER. He'd have a kid come in, 18 years old, 17 years old, who hadn't had a pulse for 10 minutes and was basically brain dead, and he'd have to go out there and tell the parents that the kid was dead. He said it was the worst thing. He said it was absolutely horrendous. He said, you're looking at a child who physically looks like there's nothing wrong with them, but they're brain dead. He said, what do you tell a parent? Right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I almost don't know what to tell.
I had to do that at the fire rescue medic, and there are no words. And the nurse and her husband. There are no words that comfort you. But you brought up a really good point. That's part of why we do it. And she's my angel. She's been with me for over a year. She's the one who's been with me the longest. We are racing against time. That's why we're trying to get these sprays out to everybody. You brought up a real good point. Your doctor, your brother pointed out 10 minutes. More than 10 minutes, 10 minutes, there's a high risk, almost guaranteed brain damage or irreversible biological death. They're not coming back. If anybody can give them a nasal spray, high dosage, it will work on a fentanyl analog, synthetic, a derivative, carfentanil, acrofentanil, 4.0 milligrams, one nasal spray will often work with no brain damage. That's the amazing thing if we get to them in a few minutes.
I don't know if you know who Heather Hayes is. Heather Hayes is an interventionist. She's based in Atlanta, but she came down here 2 years ago. Actually, she was here last year, too. She spoke at the SUD Talks. And she said something that I will never, ever forget. She was talking about the fact that, we hear about all these external threats to us, ISIS and Al-Qaeda and people coming over the border from Mexico. And she said, we hear about all these external threats that make you think we're about to get attacked, right? But she says that the biggest threat to us as a country is this disease. Addiction, mental illness, that is a far greater threat to us as a country, as a society, than any of those things put together. And yet we really don't, up until recently, we haven't spent a lot of time talking about it. I mean, we're losing a whole generation of kids.
A huge generation. I mean, last year you lost over 72,000 people in 1 year. 1 year alone. And that's not counting countless more that's not marked on the death certificates. Because if they can't, they could have said, my son died of a heart attack, because literally that's what happened. And you could say that. And my mother-in-law said, what are you going to say when somebody asks what happened to Maxwell? And I said, well, I'm going to tell them the truth. And she said, well, I'm going to say that he died of a heart attack. So, it's a stigma, and it's not on all of the death certificates. A lot of the deaths occur in the home, and you don't have to have an autopsy. And you can put on there whatever you'd like to put on there, especially if you're white and privileged. It's an option.
Yeah. So I want to ask everybody a question, and it's not something that I wasn't going to even discuss this with you, but so I'm
talk about everything. We need to get the word out there and talk about everything.
So this is good. I like this.
Good,
we're having
bad,
a discussion.
stigmatized.
So we're a law firm. My partner and I, we specialize in helping mums and dads whose kids are dealing with suffering from addiction and mental illness. That's all we do. We're the only law firm out there that is completely focused on this. And so we take calls from mums and dads, literally from all over the country. They call us, their kids are down here, they're coming down here. They either won't go to treatment or won't stay in treatment. And one of the topics, one of the discussions I routinely have with a set of parents is they almost feel guilty because they say, well, I don't want to force my child into treatment. I feel, he's going to hate me or she's going to hate me. And that's a difficult conversation to have because it's hard for me to sit here as an objective person and say, well, you have to get your child into treatment because if you don't, they'll either end up dead or in prison. I almost feel like that's a decision that the parent has to come to because at the end of the day, it's their child. I say to the parents, I told you my brain is a couple of steps ahead of my mouth. I said, look, I don't want to force your child to do anything because nobody likes to be forced to do anything. I know I don't. I'm sure your child won't. What I'm asking you to do is to make the decision for your child to go into treatment that he or she just can't make for whatever reason. And we could talk about, we could sit here till eons and talk about why they can't make it, but they just can't make it. So tell me what your thoughts are maybe on parents, who are, say to themselves, well, if I don't get my kid into treatment, what am I going to do? Or they feel guilty about it, or they're worried about their kid hating them if they don't get them into treatment. I mean, tell me what your thoughts are, because we do a lot of Marchman Act work, we do a lot of guardianship work, a little bit of criminal, but mostly it's the involuntary commitment stuff.
This is a good. Introduce yourself to Sarah. Sarah didn't meet you. Tell who you are, what you did.
Do we need to move the mic?
I'm from Southwest.
So we're just going to move the mic over?
Florida. I started an organization called Families of Grace. My daughter is a recovering addict right now. She's living with me, and I have guardianship of my granddaughter. And she was in the criminal system, in and out, in jail. And she came up with the idea to help me with this, with the backpacks and the Narcan. She says, Mom, and she was homeless. I put her on the street. And I said, I'm done. As a parent, I'm done. You're homeless. You can't come back here. So I was protecting my granddaughter, basically. She was homeless for 2 months in Fort Myers, which is a big, big... Louis, you're going there tomorrow.
Yeah, it's one of the hot spots in Florida. The crisis is unbelievable.
And she reached out to, the shelters and everything else, but then she came home. She was in jail for 3 months. She's, recovering now. She's doing a job, and she's helping me with families.
How did you feel as a parent? What Mark brought up a good point.
Yeah.
That's a hard part. Tough love, self-care, drawing the line.
I mean,
where does love end, and
we
where
basically
does...
asked the parents, listen, you let me help you. Let me go get a court order, and if I have to, I mean, I have a retired deputy sheriff on staff. I'll get a court order, and I'll send them out there with the police, and they will literally grab a kid.
Yeah.
And I don't mean physically grab them. I mean take that person to a receive facility.
Yeah.
And I've had them where they've been in the emergency room the night before. I've had them where they were blue, and a neighbor found them unconscious. I get those calls.
Yeah.
They've been Baker acted.
Yeah.
And I say to the parents, listen, if you got to make that decision.
At some point, it has to be. I think Alicia or Heather, somebody wanted to speak a minute ago.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it's me. We put Reed. Reed came from a wonderful family. Mom and Dad both have have great careers. We put him in rehab facilities left and right. My parents spent over $80,000.
I believe it.
In less than 2 years. We had to finally realize that if he doesn't want it, he's not going to do it. He had to want it. When he had his 1 year of sobriety, he wanted it.
Yeah, and I think it's a valid point. And sometimes parents will come and they say, well, they feel like I'm going to just file this paperwork with a court. We'll have a couple of hearings and their kid should be good. Or they should go to treatment for 90 days and their kid should be good. And I say, look, I don't have a magic pill. Treatment's not a magic pill. And sometimes that miracle of recovery takes time. And occasionally, and I know this from experience, when we lose a child, it doesn't happen. And when I started our practice 3 years ago, I remember saying to somebody in the field, I said, I'm going to save every child. And she said, that's great, but it's not realistic. And over the time, every once in a while, we lose a child. And it's gut-wrenching to have the conversation with the parents because you feel like, I didn't do my job. The treatment center feels the same way, and you know what? And I've had parents who've spent $80,000, $100,000 more to save their child, and sometimes it doesn't work. That's the reality. But I do know this: if you get somebody into treatment, there's a far greater likelihood that they'll get clean and stay clean than if you don't.
Well, I think that's where harm reduction comes in, because you can't force anybody into treatment. You can take them there, you can put the money down, but they can walk out the door. Oh, this is great. So they can walk out. Even if you Marchman Act, you Baker Act them, you take them there, they get tested, that's great, but they're not locked down facilities. And what are prisons, locked down facilities? I have friends whose kids have been in for 9 months, a year, and they get out and they go right back to it.
Yeah.
And, my husband and I he was 18, so you can't force, right? If they're underage, you can, but it's very difficult. Still, we sent him to Wilderness. We did all types of things. He was in a therapeutic boarding school in Utah. We spent $100,000+ in 7 months, easy. But if they don't want it, you can't force anything. And we always said maybe we wish there was a lockdown rehab that we could send him to when he was 18 and force him to go. But it doesn't even matter then.
It's a great point. And I can tell you, I spoke to, I don't know if you know Mike Gottlieb. Mike Gottlieb is a lawyer down in Broward. He's also a state rep. And he called me. He does some Marchman Act work. He called me and spoke to one of the other Marchman Act lawyers. And I know they're trying to fix some of the things. There's no question. As much as I am a big fan of the Marchman Act, there are some holes in it. There are also some other parts of the Marchman Act which are not being used, i.e., so like in the Baker Act situation, right? You go, if you're in front of the police and you yell, I'm going to kill myself or I'm going to kill somebody else, they can Baker Act you, right? Your therapist or licensed mental health counselor can Baker Act you. There is a 72-hour hold provision within the Marchman Act, and this is a conversation I had with our phenomenal state attorney, Dave Ehrenberg, when I was at the Sober Homes Task Force last year, and they were talking about the revolving door of the ER, and I said, Dave, and I also said this to Al Johnson, who runs the task, I said, you have the authority right now when somebody comes into the ER, you don't have to let them go. And if you don't want them to go out of the emergency room into the parking lot and re-overdose, you got to initiate a 72-hour hold. And they said, well, how do we do that? I said, it's in the statute. It's just like a Baker Act. The problem is, at least here in Palm Beach County, we don't have anywhere where we can house somebody who's just had a drug overdose for 72 hours. If they've had a mental health breakdown and have threatened to kill somebody or themselves, we have receiving facilities in the south and in the north end of the counties, but not for addiction, for when there's been an overdose. So,
there are a couple of points to that very good point you brought up. Some people overdose again and again and again. I've had people who've gotten Narcan 10 times before they get it right. There's some people who die in their first overdose and didn't get Narcan in time. The second issue is Florida does have judicial ex parte features inside the Marchman and Baker
That's
Act.
the one I use.
Yes, I'm very familiar with that. But the problem there is, you're right, a physician could write a Baker Act and hold them under that, or a Marchman Act and hold them. But then, to be totally honest, it comes down to insurance. And that's it. That person's going to go out there. The hospital does not want them to keep them if they don't have insurance. Luckily, last week, the Palm Beach County Commissioner, Mayor Melissa McKinley, authorized 12 beds to be set up at JFK. They're starting to put it together. We're going to have 12 beds, which is more than the 20 we have in Palm Beach County for detox, which is woefully inadequate. But I've seen this going around the state. Sarah and I have done 72-hour classes. We've been to about 20, 25 counties. It's the same problem everywhere. There are no adequate funding resources statewide. We're pretty low in terms of funding. And I think it all comes back to what Sarah was talking about. everything in a nutshell, because I know we're almost out of time, is stigma. Part of my 2-hour class is just re-educating the federal agents in my class, the police officers, the firefighters, the retired nurses, the civilians, the folks who've never seen a junkie, quote unquote, or an overdose, quote unquote, to realize it's all stigma. It's all how we're judging and percepting, and everybody has an opinion, whether they're an elected official or a prosecutor or even the fire rescue medic deciding, do I give him 1 milligram of Narcan or 2 milligram Narcan? Opinions and stigma do play a role. That's everything comes down to stigma. One thing I want to mention that Sarah started touching upon is harm reduction. Harm reduction is anything that says today this person cannot or is not choosing to end the disease of substance use disorder in their life. So we don't want them to die from HIV and Hep C. And I'll have you add that, and then we'll finish up with Alicia and Heather, and we'll get on our time here. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean,
I
harm
can sit here and
reduction.
talk to you for hours.
I know you could. I know you could.
Well, there's so much to talk about. I mean, harm reduction starts.
We're going to do
it
this.
could
Have to
be
do this again.
Putting
Yes.
a
We're gonna do
seatbelt
catch up
on,
and
putting
love
on sunscreen, putting a baby in a car seat. That's harm reduction. So harm reduction with addiction is fentanyl testing strips. So you can have these anywhere. They have them. Oh, that thing is
Sorry,
over
that's
there.
our favorite.
You know, Don Mains was telling us about they sent a couple of police dogs into a scene, and the dogs were overdosing because of the fentanyl
Yeah.
that was on the table. They had the Narcan the dogs.
Yeah. And I do that. I give
Sorry
when
to
I go
interrupt
to
you.
my police departments, I give them Narcan. But that other thing, what else makes up harm reduction? We're almost out of time.
Well,
Okay, we got time.
the
We're good.
Narcan is harm reduction. You know, testing your drugs, supervised injection sites, which they have them in other countries. That no one has overdosed in a supervised injection site. Now, people are using drugs. You're not encouraging drug use, but you're keeping somebody alive while they're using. And that's what we're trying to do, is keep them alive until they choose to seek recovery, because relapse is part of recovery. So you're not going to walk right in and do your first, 30, 60, 90, 120-day deal and come right out. And guess when a lot of people, when they die of an overdose, is when they get out.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if do you know John Hewlick, who is our drug czar here in Palm Beach County?
No, the thing about me is I'm a one-man show. This is the thing that people don't. I'm strictly about Narcan. I've been
All
to
right.
some of the task force meetings. I only know Narcan.
So I'll share something that
Sure.
John showed me. So John used to work for Governor Chris Christie for many years. They brought him down here. He's our drug czar in Palm Beach County.
Oh, great.
He's got a daughter in recovery. He's just a wonderful, wonderful human being, and he really understands this stuff. And so I had him on the show, and we talked off air and on camera. And I told him, my mindset was we need to make treatment available to everybody. He said, yeah, that sounds great. He said, but one of the things I'm trying to make people realize is that there's a difference between getting clean and staying clean. And if we have people that we get clean and then don't help them get a job, have a house, have a support system, have access to whatever else they might need, yeah, we're going to have people relapse. And I said, wow, the light bulb went off. I said, you're right. Treatment's great, but if we don't have all the things that keep them clean, well, I mean, we're almost wasting our time and money.
And you have to
They're gonna
understand,
relapse.
why are they self-medicating? It's usually a mental illness. It usually
Yeah.
goes hand in hand. So if that's not treated, once they get anxious or depressed or whatever it is that drives them when they can't cope, that's their coping mechanism, is smoking, injecting, snorting, whatever it is, drinking. That's what drives them.
Kind of like what you do in Southwest Florida with your homeless coalition. Most people have suffered childhood trauma, and that's why they become addicted to their substance use disorder is triggered. Most people have some sort of childhood trauma. Number one, many of the people who are homeless or unemployed, if they had a job, if they had therapy along with medication-assisted treatment, they have a much greater chance of staying clean. But yet, to wrap up harm reduction, it also includes condoms. It includes needle exchanges. It includes...
I include the condoms in my bag.
Good. It includes detox. It includes medication-assisted treatment. Some people find sobriety through NA or Narcotics Anonymous. Some people go through a faith-based group at that temple or church. Some people must stay on medication-assisted treatment for years. Methadone, Suboxone, sometimes Vivitrol. It's like this. By no means do I think this is the only answer. This is just part of the solution. Narcan saves lives so that they can possibly go to the next step. It takes a village, and dead people don't recover. So I'll end up with Alicia and Heather giving you any final points and thoughts, and we'll wrap it up.
Okay. Ladies, did we say everything for you?
Yeah, I have so much to say, but you've said it all.
Heather?
I agree with everything you all said. And coming from an addict, you're not going to recover till you're ready to recover, no matter how many times the parents try. until they're ready, they're not going
And
to.
I got to admit, I tell you, Alicia, I love your accent, but I'm going to get to meet them in 3 weeks. We're going to Kentucky, Arkansas. Where else are we going? I'm so confused. Tennessee, thank you. 30 trip. But the point is, it's amazing when you hear she went back to the police officers who arrested her and did a Narcan giveaway. You know, that's amazing. That says a lot about her as a human being.
It really does.
Yeah. And then Heather's my team leader. She's putting the glue holding all these 20 helpers together. Heather?
You all have said everything.
So I want to before we log off. I mean, this really requires money, right?
It does. It really does.
When we're done, I'm going to give you a check, but that's a different story.
Thank
But I want to know how people, when they see the show, where they need to go to, and
God bless you. Thank you, and the universe thanks you. When I started this, I literally took $40,000. I felt guilty. My girlfriend and I said, "Do I buy an SUV?" Bought $800, and then I thought my mission was going to end. We were talking about a 501c3 DCF funding. I did not meet the criteria to get it for free. I am the only person in the entire country who has an active distribution program, strictly funded initially through my money, and now GoFundMe. When they made me their hero, I had raised $2,000 in a year. Within a month of being there here, I raised $40,000. GoFundMe is the only thing that allows us to continue what doing for me to help you and give you Narcan.
So how do people find you on GoFundMe?
They can find me on GoFundMe or on Facebook. USA Opioid Crisis Mortality Reduction with Narcan. USA Opioid Crisis Mortality Reduction with Narcan. We have big classes coming on tomorrow. If I could plug them, we're expecting
absolutely.
300 people. I'm not going to sleep tonight. That's the most we've ever done. 150 in 2 2-hour classes. Fort Myers at Southwest. That's why these ladies are going to help me, and I've got 5 other helpers. Florida Southwestern University. I'm doing a big class up here near Palm Beach. Okeechobee County Sheriff's Office is hosting an event in 5 weeks. Broward County Fire Rescue just committed to me in 7 weeks. So all that requires money. But any case, if people will just go to my Facebook page and like or share or look for the events there, they must register by phone. My phone number is 954-859-4696. I get calls all day, all night, and I will take them, and we'll go anywhere within reason. I've got a list going of little towns that I've got to find on a map and figure out when we can go out there. And our mission is to give out 2,000 sprays. With what we have right now, if I can raise more on GoFundMe, we have a chance to save more lives. And that's it. This is just part of the solution. It is not the answer. It's not the only answer. But dead people do not recover. So if people will go to my GoFundMe, USA Opioid Crisis Mortality Reduction with Narcan, they will help me save lives. For $50, they'll save another human being's life.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to give out our information. Number one, if people want to call us and talk to us about what we do, but they may just want to be able to reach out to you. So they can find us online at drugandalcoholattorneys.com. They can email me at mark@drugandalcoholattorneys.com. We're going to be on, so there's the Drug and Alcohol Attorneys Facebook page. There's the Mark G. Astor Facebook page. We're on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, I can't remember these, and YouTube. And did I say the Drug and Alcohol Attorneys website.com? So drugandalcoholattorneys.com. And if they can't find me on any of those social media platforms, they could just call me. And it does go forward to my cell phone because I take calls at all hours of the day and weekends and holidays and all the other good stuff. So the number is 561-419-6095. Luis, I can't thank you enough. And ladies, thank you.
I want to thank your awesome IT staff here, your professional AV folks. They help me do the little
stuff. They make
stuff.
me look good. I think they use Photoshop on me because I tell you, I get up in the morning, I'm like, who the hell is that?
He showed me how to turn my phone the right way for my Facebook Live, folks.
Oh, forget about it.
I had it the wrong way.
Jay's a technical wizard. So
and what company are they with? I want to promote that.
Come on, guys. We'll give a little shout out.
You never know.
On the Go Media.
On the Go
Media.com. Can they find our Facebook on the Go Media?
So if anybody has wondered how my Facebook live show, which was a complete well anyway, why I look so good now and I have this whole thing with the journey and the music, it's Jay and Deanna. So if you guys want to produce a podcast, and I know that lawyers don't do this stuff because we're not trained for this stuff, but if you lawyers out there want to talk about what you're doing and making a difference and helping people, then you should call Deanna and Jay and say, listen, I want to do a podcast like Mark does so he can have great guests like Luis Garcia.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Sarah Cooper.
And Sarah.
Give a plug for your efforts in Southwest Florida, please.
Kitty's Homes, Families of Grace.
Move the mic.
Yeah. How do they find you on Facebook? You have a GoFundMe.
I have a GoFundMe.
What's it called?
It's Families of Grace. I have a Facebook page that my daughter set up. It's Lifting the Fog, Families of Grace. I haven't gotten into Twitter yet. I'm working on LinkedIn. That's my next.
I have something to do. I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing.
Okay. My email address is liftthefog12@gmail.com. My phone number is 239-250-2478, and that's in Southwest Florida.
And Sarah, you want to give us any final thoughts? You've really been amazing. You brought all these wonderful people. I got poor Sarah, and then she just kept coming back, and I'd cry on her shoulder, and here we are.
I want you to know I think you're very brave,
She's amazing.
for coming in and sharing that story. I really do.
No, I would just, if I can help save somebody else's child, I would like to.
And you are. And again, it helps when we do something very different. Other giveaway programs will give you a nasal spray. They'll give you a box, and they'll tell you use it 5-10 minutes. We do a comprehensive 2-hour class. If anybody comes to our classes, Sarah, myself, other healthcare professionals, we do a 45-minute large group PowerPoint geared toward the federal agent or the ER doctor or the layperson. We take a break, we get to mingle, and then we do 3 15-minute hands-on rotations. We cover CPR, mouth-to-mouth AED, coma recovery. We go through the different types of layperson Narcan, and then Sarah leads a discussion about harm reduction. So it's a pretty interactive 2-hour course.
Well,
Thank you.
This is honestly the best. I mean, I was home with this, and when you find your child unconscious and not breathing, even though I'm a nurse, I didn't know what to do. I had to listen to the little trainer thing.
We did the trainer thing before you came in.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
This is easy. Anybody, a monkey can do this basically.
And it's high dosage.
I mean, we did, obviously it didn't work and maybe it wasn't the right amount of time, but maybe it wasn't the right dosage either. But this is very easy. Anybody can do this.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much, Mark. And thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, and good night from me, and good night from
Good night.
him.
Thank you.
Good
Bye,
night,
ladies.
Heather. Heather and Alicia on the phone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Thank
See
you.
you in 5 weeks. I believe it's going to be very cold in Kentucky, Tennessee, and where? Oh my God,
Send
Arkansas.
some sunshine this way.
Oh my. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.